Welcome, everybody. This is a special edition of our Indie Reads Aloud podcast. I love these events. I have such a great time bringing authors and their brand new book babies out to you. Tonight, we're going to be visiting with Gabriel Mero. He has a brand new book out. And I have to say, Gabe, we're kind of lying a little bit when we say it's brand new.
Yeah, kind of.
I mean, okay, it's not a complete lie. It's a minor fabrication because
Yeah. A little white lie.
yeah, well, you published this book some time ago,
Yep,
and
2019.
then 2019. So you and I sat down, we looked at it, and we found some ways that maybe we
No.
could make it a little better, and so we
Yep.
did that.
Yes, we did.
And I think it turned out great. I think the
Thank you.
improvements that you've added to this book are just fantastic.
Thank you.
I love the depth that you were able to get into, and I'm just really happy to have worked with you as an editor. You were a joy to work with. So
Well, thank you. So were you. I appreciate all your help.
Yeah, you're a joy to work with, and I'm so
Thanks.
glad that we did that together. So
Thank
for
you.
those of you who are wondering, Gabriel's book is called Witched. It is a novel. I'm just gonna read the little thingy for you. 20-year-old Graham Norris relocates to the small town of Willows Crest with his mother and autistic brother to escape his abusive stepfather. His grandmother, is it Ginevra or Ginevra?
Ginevra.
Ginevra. See, I still got it wrong.
It's all right.
This is what happens when you have a hearing disability. You pronounce words weird.
It's all right.
She's happy to take them in, but she is harboring secrets of her own. When Graham meets the enigmatic Erasmus, a door is opened up to the world that he never knew existed, a world in which he can excel. Love, magic, and fantasy ensue. And this really is a fun book. And I got to say, it is the first in a series, so this is going to be a lot of fun. So welcome, Gabriel. Thank you for taking the time out of your crazy, horrible, crazed schedule. And I'm so glad to see that you're feeling better today.
Oh, thank you. Yes, thank you for having me. It's an honor.
So tell me, what was the inspiration for this book?
Well,
where did you get the idea?
I've always liked that genre, like witches and stuff and vampires. And, you know, one day I vividly remember I was at work making dough, and I was just thinking of a way that I could write my own in that genre. And, you know, I started putting ideas down, and then, you know, I'm kind of catching myself like, but that's how everybody else does it. You're doing everything that everybody else does. Why don't you do something differently?
Right.
So I started changing stuff. Like initially the main character was going to be a woman, because they always are in that genre. And I went, no, you know, let's make him a guy. Let's see what happens there. And then, you know, as I started building the character more, I'm like, but the hero of the story is usually not the socially awkward, like weird guy. It's always the, you know, the confident person or the popular person, not the person who doesn't have any friends, not the person who doesn't feel good about themselves.
Right.
So I started working that in, you know, instead of a sidekick be the hero. Why can't the sidekick ever get the spotlight?
Yeah, it's unusual for the underdog to become the hero with the grace that you've given Graham.
Thank you. I tried.
Yeah, no, I think you did a great job with it. And I love your supporting characters as well.
Well, thank you.
You've created a really fun cast of people to play with and people that we get to know. So it is a lot of fun. Why vampires? Why not sea hags or you know, abominable snowmans or whatever? Why did you choose vampires?
I think there's a certain romanticism with vampires that there isn't with other supernatural beings. I think that was my main draw. I mean, I know, you know, the whole vampire thing's been done a million times again, but I wanted to make that different too. You know, that's what influenced me growing up, you know, watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer, you know, Angel and Spike and just all those cool characters. And I wanted to put my own spin on that.
Yeah, I think you did it really well.
Thank you.
I like that. Also, I think there's a character, a subplot character in this book, Graham's younger brother,
Brent.
um,
Yeah.
and Brent, and he is autistic. And
Yeah.
I thought that you wrote him with a great deal of dignity. And
Thank you.
I'm wondering where you got the idea to include an autistic character in your book.
To be honest, a lot of Graham and a lot of that whole family dynamic is inspired by my own family.
Okay.
My little brother is autistic. I took care of him a lot when I was in high school, so I kind of used that as a storyline. I mean, obviously, my mom is not as crazy as the mother in the book is at times.
Yeah.
But I mean, if everybody's nice and gets along, then it's just boring. There has to be some kind of drama and some kind of contention to move the plot forward. So, I had to play with a couple things, but I really drew a lot from just my own life.
That's awesome. And, we hear it over and over again in craft workshops, conversations. We're always told, write what you know. And that's a good foundation to start from, especially with a debut novel. And I think you did that really, really well here.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm going to open up the room. Everybody feel free to turn on your microphones. If any of you have, I know that we haven't really gotten into the depth of the plot here. But I know that some of you know Gabriel. And if you have any questions that you'd like to start out the night with, just to kind of be icebreakers, and then we'll get into the book a little bit more. Chelsea?
Yeah, so I know, Diana, you mentioned too at the beginning of this that this was his first book in a series. And I know Gabe has mentioned it before as well. So Gabe, how many books right now do you anticipate this series being?
For these characters, I imagine it is 4 books, and then I want to do like a whole other series that's kind of like alternate universe, maybe, without giving too much away because that would spoil the ending. But
yeah. And for those of you who are wondering, yes, book 2 is in edit right now. So
that's a long one.
It is, but we're having fun with it.
Oh yeah.
So anybody else have any questions for Gabriel real quick?
Can I ask one more?
Yeah.
Ask as many as you want. I love answering questions.
All right, so I love the cover, and I know working with Diana myself that she's amazing with making covers. But what was the direction that you were thinking for the cover? What was the inspiration? Was there a certain mood you were trying to convey with it? Like, what was your thought process on, like, yes, this is the cover? I mean, it's phenomenal. You picked a really good one.
Well, do you want the story from like the beginning up until we chose that one?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So initially, the original release, I think you have that one, was just a picture of my cat because I love her more than anything in the world.
And she does play a big part in this book.
Oh yeah, in like all of them. So I was like, what better? There's no copyright. I can use a picture of my cat. And it has the whole witchy vibe already, so I didn't really have to do much editing to it. It was just, that. And then when I started working with you, Diana, we started looking at other options. And then I remember for a while we were going to have me draw, and that didn't pan out, which is fine because, this is so much better.
It's really an interesting process that cover design goes through.
Oh yeah.
So many people think you choose one cover and you're done.
Right.
But Chelsea, after having worked with me, it takes several drafts of a cover before you finally figure one that you really, really like. And Gabriel brought to me, I asked him one day, I said, talk to me about the theme that you want most to come across when people read this book. And he said, well, it's a love story. And I said, well, okay, then we have to have a book that says this is a love story. And the last third of the book takes place in someplace that might be interpreted as hell, depending on which religion you ascribe to. And so I married those two thoughts together, and that's how we got this cover.
It's
And
gorgeous.
you did it perfectly
Gorgeous.
because, you know, when I look at the cover, I see somebody holding on to love as like a last hope or like the one thing to keep them going. And that is so perfect.
Yeah, that really is the ultimate theme in this book. It's the character Graham who discovers love for the first time and discovers that it's his forever love. So I really wanted that to come across in this book, and the next book, the cover's going to be different. It's going to be, you know,
Yeah,
but
that one's not so happy. That one's a little bit more sad, but
well, you
it's
know,
all right.
everything has to happen in stages, right?
All right. I mean, stages of life.
Right.
Just because you love somebody doesn't mean you're going to be with them forever.
Well, there's that. Or you could be. Who knows?
Spoilers.
Anybody else have questions before we get into the reading? No? Okay, I'm sure we're going to have more questions after you do the reading, Gabe.
Okay.
People are going to have more stuff that comes into their brains. So if you would please take the microphone and read aloud for us.
Okay. Do you want me to like set the scene?
No, just read it. It's much more fun if you just jump in and read it, don't you think?
Yeah, that's fine. Okay.
I mean, it's, you know, start on a cliff, end on a cliff, right?
I am negotiable. I will do whatever.
Okay.
All right. As I'm walking out of my American history class, Amethyst manifests by my side. If we don't hurry, we'll be spending most of our lunch in line, she says. I don't eat, I inform her, looking down at my feet. I can tell that by looking at you, she laughs. Eating's good for you, but I'm not your mom. I won't make you. But do you want to grab us a table instead then? Sounds like a plan. My high school didn't have a cafeteria. Lunch was held in the commons. We also had 3 lunch periods to accommodate the large number of students in the school. Burnham University has a proper cafeteria like we had back in elementary school. Instead of the round black tables back home, Burnham has the traditional long brown ones. I sit down at a vacant table in the front row. I can see Amethyst waiting to pay for her wrap and fries. She waves exuberantly as I pull my sketch pad out of my messenger bag. Back in high school during lunch, I used to work on homework from previous classes instead of eat, since I don't eat. But I don't have any homework yet, and I can't read my book because Amethyst would be upset. So I decide to draw. I've been drawing for as long as I can remember. I wouldn't say that I'm exceptionally talented at it, but I am better than most untrained people. Since kindergarten, I've taken art classes, and it has helped me immensely. My art teacher back home, Mrs. Rinke, taught me so much. She taught me how to do shading properly, that the eyes are placed in the exact center of the head, and that the distance between the eyes is equal to that width of one eye. I'll never be good enough to make a career out of it, but it's a fun hobby. Amethyst sits down across from me, her tray exuding the delicious smell of greasy fries. My stomach grumbles hungrily and a wave of nausea washes over me. I will the bile not to come up. Are you sure you don't want a bite of my wrap? It's chicken bacon ranch, Amethyst says, holding the unbitten half out toward me. No, thanks. I say, I'm Jewish, no pork. Oh, you're Jewish? That's so cool. I've never met an actual Jew before. I'm an atheist. It's pretty cool. I don't know, I think my favorite part about Judaism is we believe that heaven has an open door policy. So no matter your faith, if you're a good person, you can get into heaven. I love that. So why don't you eat? Amethyst queries, plopping a golden fry into her mouth. I have issues, I reply. I don't really want to go into detail. It's embarrassing to admit that I have a spastic colon. Anorexia, she guesses, her voice devoid of judgment. I appreciate that more than I can possibly fathom. I wish it were that simple. I laugh bitterly. It's my stomach. Say no more. Amethyst holds both hands up in surrender. I smile gratefully that she doesn't want to delve deeper into my neuroses and gastrointestinal ailments. I flip through my sketch pad to my last semi-completed drawing. It's Piper and Phoebe Halliwell and Paige Matthews from Charmed. It's one of my favorite TV shows, and I love to draw the book and DVD covers. I start to darken the pencil of Piper's long hair. What's that? Amethyst asks, peering up over the rims of her glasses. I can't help but wonder if this technique actually helps her see better or if it's just a force of habit. I move past the pad so that, I move the pad so that she can see it better. Wow, that's really good. Thanks. I'm pretty sure even my ears turn red at the compliment. My mom loves that show. She has them all on DVD, one episode per disc. She rolls her eyes dramatically. One episode per disc? My sets have 3 episodes per disc at least, mostly 4. Oh, she has burned copies. Oh, okay. Yeah, she didn't know you could put more than 1 episode per disc. Her face goes dark as if recalling something bad. When I was 16, she got in a car accident. She suffered major brain damage. I've been on my own ever since. I'm sorry, I say sincerely. Can't imagine having something terrible like that happen to my mom. It's fine. She lives with my grandparents. Where do you live? I have my own apartment in town. That's pretty awesome. I'm impressed. So you never told me where you lived before. Oh, Chesterfield, Michigan. Where's that? That's a suburb about a half hour south of Detroit. Amethyst knits her brow. If you're from Detroit, then why are you white? I burst out into laughter. Amethyst is paraphrasing a quote from Mean Girls. I'm actually from Detroit. Really? What are the chances of that? We're both from the Detroit area and now we're here in Willows Crest. Looks like we're destined to be friends. It's Bashert. I smile at her. So, you like witches? Like is an understatement. I have loved witches for as long as I can remember. Some of my earliest memories are watching The Wizard of Oz and idolizing the Wicked Witch of the West. Since then, if it involves witches, it's great by me. Love, I answer simply. I'm a witch, Amethyst states matter-of-factly. That's cool. I've always wanted to try witchcraft for real, but I have been halted by the ingredients and the tools needed to do most spells. Are you into witchcraft? I think it's interesting, I reply. I tried a few spells back in middle school. What were they? Did they work? She looks at me intensely. Simple stuff, really, I shrug. Make it rain, stop the rain, warm myself up, lose weight. Oh, one time, I did a stupid spell on my little brother to give him the mind of a frog, and before you ask, no, he does not hop around the house and eat flies. I snicker. Did the others work? I like to think that they worked. Who knows? Maybe when I did the rain ones, it was supposed to rain or stop raining. The heat one, I remember that one vividly. It was winter, and I was walking to my bus stop. You know how cold Michigan winters are. Amethyst nods in agreement. I was getting colder and colder, and I remembered the spell I'd seen online. I chanted it 5 times and suddenly felt this intense burst of warmth in my chest. I shrug again, but whether the spell actually worked or if it was psychological, who can say? Amethyst slides the last of the wrap into her mouth, chews and swallows. I think they all worked, except for the frog one. I know this sounds crazy, but when we met yesterday, I felt an intense power within you. Intense power in me? Come on. I laugh. I suffer from extreme anxiety. The only power I possess is the intense power to make myself a nervous wreck. You have to be more confident, Amethyst encourages. You're seriously so much more than you think you are. I frown at her questioningly and she smiles. I'm an empath. I can feel your self-doubt. I don't know what to say. I check my watch. It's getting time to head to my next class. I have never been so thankful to be interrupted. I think we'll stop there unless you want me to keep going.
That sounds great to me. So if you haven't already noticed, everybody, thank you, Gabriel. Great reading.
Thank you.
Gabriel's reading is indicative of the whole book. There's a lot of really great interactive communication in here, a lot of conversations that get to the heart of these characters. And this book falls into a genre which we call new adult. So it's that transition of young adult into full-fledged adult. So first couple of years of college is about where we stand in this. And I was wondering, Gabe, if you could tell me a little bit about where you got the ideas for the magic. I know that in one place in the book, there's a seance that's really cool. And it's not a traditional seance, which I like. It's not, a bunch of people sitting around in a dark room with
chanting with candles.
Yeah, weirdness. It's just 2 people who invite a grandparent spirit into the room. It's very cool. So I was wondering, where did you get the magical elements? How much research did you do to find those?
I didn't have to do a lot because, as I've said, like this has been my thing forever. So I do know enough about it, and then I have friends who actually practice, so I could ask them, like, hey, if this were to happen, what do I need to do? What do I need to do to make it, as believable as I can, without
Right.
making it too fantastical to where it's like lampooning the situation.
Yeah, yeah. The last thing you want to do for any religion is create
Right.
farce, right?
Right. And since that is such a big part of the book, I wanted to portray it as realistically as I could, because in this universe it is actually happening.
Right.
And then I just kind of did stuff that I would like to do in real life.
Okay.
Like, if I could summon my grandma Mary and have a little chat with her, that'd be great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Did somebody want to interject something? I thought I heard somebody say something. Nope. Okay. So I know I'm going to put you on the spot here, but
Okay.
I would love to hear just a little bit more. Do you have a second piece that you could read for us?
I can find something really quickly.
Okay, great. I know we were talking about another scene that might be interesting, maybe that seance scene. I'm not sure if you had it marked or not.
I can find it. We can if you want. It's a little bit more adult. I think there is some mention to something, but
I can definitely put it in the show notes that that we've got a listener advisory. If you'd like to do that, we can certainly do that.
okay. Yeah, I don't think there's any swearing. It's just it mentions medicinal marijuana.
You
But
mean recreational marijuana?
well, I'm using it. It's medicinal.
Got it. Okay,
It's magic weed.
got it.
I'm trying to find this. I'm trying to find. I know it's on Halloween, so let me.
While he's flipping through, can I just say like how impressed I am with like how authentic your characters sound? Like their
Thank you.
conversations, I can believe that it's two like young adults to older teenagers. Like that sounds like how they would talk. So like I just think like a lot of credit for you to making it sound absolutely authentic.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Like
I
I could
actually-
totally like I'm working in a middle school right now and I could totally see like even some of like my students like it's not like so far like it's very believable.
Well, thank you. It helps that I'm still mentally like a teenager. So. I'm still hip. Gosh,
so
where was that?
as you're looking for that scene, Gabe,
Yes.
we
Oh.
and maybe we can just segue into this and you could do the reading a little bit when you find it, but we posted a couple of fun little contests, games, silliness. One of them was to cast this book as a film based on simple character descriptions.
Yes.
That was kind of fun to play with. Where
Barbara. Okay.
when
Sorry.
when
Barbara had
you're
to move.
yeah we didn't get a lot of people submit for these silly little games, which is fine. Chelsea is always up for a game and she did that, which is great. But I'm curious about who would you cast, Gabe?
Okay. Well, I mean,
I'm most especially interested in the main character Graham.
Okay.
And Erasmus, who is his love interest.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really interested, oddly enough, and I don't think we had this in the game, was the character of the evil stepfather.
Okay. Don, yeah. I never thought of. I have to think about that one. But for Graham, I mean, in my mind, it would be me because he's so much like me that in a perfect world, I would get to play him. But if I couldn't, Chelsea knew she was going to win that when she put Ben Platt because he's my favorite human being. So, like, obviously, that would be the greatest honor in the world to have Ben Platt play me. So that's, and then funny story about Erasmus was originally based off of a customer I had that I kind of like fancied from afar. And then I kind of realized that wasn't going to go anywhere. And then I started listening to Panic at the Disco a lot. And I was like, wow, Brendan Urie's like a really cool guy. Like, he's good looking. He's so talented. He'd make a great vampire. So again, Chelsea was spot on with that one.
What I find interesting, and I noticed this especially in Chelsea's submissions for her cast, and then you and I have talked about this before. You both love musical theater.
Oh yeah.
And I find it very interesting that when you guys are casting this, you're thinking musical theater, not film.
Right?
Right. And there,
Just in case the witches need to burst into song or something.
I mean,
like,
sometimes you have to do a magical spell that'll be musical, or
and so when I saw Chelsea's cast list today, I thought, okay, wait a minute, what would a song and dance number in hell really look like?
Oh, it would be probably not be safe for work. Let me put it that way.
It'd be really hot.
It'd be really hot. There'd probably be some twerking, maybe some like chain stuff. Maybe like a light version of like the Hellraiser Cenobite leather garb.
Not like help me, Andrew. Frankenfurter.
It could be. Yeah, that would definitely be
Rocky
in
Horror.
some
Thank you, Rocky Horror.
corsets and some fishnets and just shenanigans for no reason.
Yeah.
I just like to be silly, and I like to push the envelope a little bit without going too far over. So I mean, anything I could do that would just be hilarious and get people talking would be okay.
All right. So we have some other writers in the room. Definitely Andrew, Chelsea. I don't know if the other people in the room are writers as well, but do you guys have any writing craft questions? You guys know me, I could talk about writing craft all night long. But do you guys have any writing craft questions that come to mind that you might like to pose to Gabriel?
Not to like take it over or anything, but I do have a question.
No, go ahead, Chelsea, and then I'll follow you.
I just know like the name Erasmus like is so unique, and I just was wondering like where was your inspiration for those names? Because again, everything else is like super authentic, but then Erasmus as being a vampire and stuff, like it is a very exotic name, and I think it's very fitting for his character.
He is like 4,000 years old.
Yeah.
Yes. So. But like that's like I've never even heard that name before, so I'm just like wondering where's the inspiration for like Amethyst, Erasmus. Those are like not as common as like Joe or Sally or something.
Right. Part of that stems from growing up, and my mom always hated like really common names, and so it's kind of embedded in me. Like when I name my cats, or whenever when I do write, I try to give them kind of unique names. And that name for Erasmus just kind of popped up. I don't really know where. I had heard it maybe once or twice before, but I don't know where. It is a real name. I think there might be a Saint Erasmus or something, if memory serves. But it's like a Greek. I think it like is derived from Greek, which I love, of course. And then the character of Amethyst is based on one of my very close friends, Amanda, and she's super into like crystals, and she's one of the ones that kind of practices. She's like I don't think she considers herself a Wiccan, but like a pagan. And just Amethyst stuck with me. She has amethyst crystals, and then the other names just kind of came as I went along. It's kind of pop, people I like that have kind of more unique names. I guess like there's a minor character, Marina. I named her after Marina Sirtis from Star Trek.
I'm sure she would appreciate that. You need to send her a copy of the book.
I would love to.
I think you should.
Actually, I gave a copy of my books to a couple of actors recently. Just show up at a con and hand her the book.
Right. I've done that too. I did that with the original version of this book to Freema Agyeman, because I wrote a character inspired by her in book 2. And she loved it. And then I gave one to Ben Platt when I met him. And then I think that's all for this one. I gave a couple of my poetry books to I sent one to Liza Minnelli And I sent one to Sarah Jessica Parker.
Fun.
But I would like to just start sending them to everybody. Everybody
not?
that I'm a fan of, just be like, here, read it.
Yeah,
Read
sure.
this.
It worked. I mean, eventually someone will pay attention,
All it takes is one.
right? That's what I'm banking on.
Any questions from you, Andrew? Inquisitive
course, I have-
mind that you are.
I have several questions. You at the start, you made note that you kind of went a little bit different because you picked different people. The genre as a whole is an interesting genre. What did you go outside that genre at all, and or did you stay within the myths? So are you pulling a sparkly vampire anywhere, or are you staying pretty close to traditional lore?
Kind of midway, to be honest with you. The vampires don't sparkle, for sure. None of that. The sunlight still kills them, but crosses don't do anything. Garlic doesn't do anything. They can't fly. They can't turn into bats. They can't.
This
they
book is very contemporary, and it has a strong LGBT theme. So it is very LGBTQ friendly. So that would make the vampires a little bit different.
Well, yep, that too. Yep, for sure.
I was waiting for Shelby's cat to fall there for a second. It was balancing precariously.
Aw, I missed it.
It was a good. So with that, I mean, being friendly to one side or the other, were you all inclusive? Were you? Because I've read many LGBTQA inclusive books that pretty much shun everybody else, and I've read them that are inclusive of everybody. It just contains. How did you approach that?
I tried to do the best I could. There's several straight characters. There's a gay character, a bi character, a pan character. In book 3, there's a trans witch. And that's kind of as far as I went with that, I think. I tried not to go too overboard.
Did it?
But not, trot on over anybody.
As you approach that, was the story a focus, or was the inclusivity a focus, or how did you approach the whole idea?
It was more the story, and just because I based so many of the characters off of people I know, or were inspired by people I know, I just kind of worked that into it. Instead of I have to, have to tick a box for I have to have one of everything, I wanted it to be like a real story that didn't feel like things were shoehorned into it just to get readers or to not offend anybody.
Right. Yeah, I remember when we were going through the edits, we were talking about not having token characters.
All right, and I don't want
all of the characters that are in this book are there for a reason, because they have some sort of relationship to Graham.
Right. And
I think that was the thing that really drew me to this story, is that it wasn't a well, let's write a socially acceptable book simply to have a socially acceptable book. I think that the story around Graham and his personal struggles, right, with anxiety and relationships, I think that's more the focus than the community that you tried to include.
Right.
And that was a big reason why I agreed to take on this project, is because I think that for me, story is everything. So.
All right. Yeah, for sure. I agree.
Yeah.
100%.
Me too. I'm always curious, because I've read so many books lately that it seems like they just try to put characters in so that I can say that I did this, but not necessarily to further the story, where you look at it and say, whoa, this fits, this makes good sense.
That's what I tried to do, because I don't like it when they do that either. Like TV shows, all of a sudden, like Glee started turning everybody gay all of a sudden. I was just like, that's fine, but
yeah,
you can also have people who aren't gay.
Yeah,
it's supposed to be a show about a group of kind of high school outcast, that doesn't automatically mean you're gay or transgender or bisexual. You
Yeah,
can
tell
just be awkward, or you can just be, you know, the kid who doesn't apply himself.
Or the kid who succeeds but likes to
Right.
sing, right?
Right. I
Right.
mean, you know, I just want to kind of spotlight everybody if I can.
Yeah, tell me an amazing story that explains love. I don't care if it's anybody, just explain love more effectively.
Right.
Right. And yeah, that's what I tried to do. You know, I'm a firm believer that sexuality is not a personality trait.
No, falling in love isn't,
Right.
it's real
Yeah.
love doesn't depend on sexuality, but
Right. And
that's my
that's, you know,
opinion. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
yeah, no, I've always felt that way, and I tried very hard to keep it that way in my story, where, you know, yeah, some of these people are gay or whatever, but that's one small fraction of who they are. They're all multifaceted characters. They all have their own little quirks and their own
So-
funny little side plots.
Yeah. So one of the fun things that you did with this book, that I'm very interested to see how we work it into the next two books, is the idea of time manipulation.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think you handled this really nicely. There's a span of what feels like 3 days that turns out to be longer.
Mhm.
And then there's a moment in the book where one of the characters actually pauses time.
Yes.
So my curiosity was, where did you draw those boundary lines so that you didn't get caught up in a time travel story rather than a love story? So how did you decide, okay, I'm coming to the edge here, time to pull back? Or this is too much weirdness, let's make it more real. How did you draw those boundaries for yourself?
When I was initially, you know, writing it, I had no idea how it was going to end. And then, I don't want to spoil it, but the chunk that you're talking about, the 3-day thing, I want to say that's kind of like from Greek mythology. So I kind of, you know, use that. But I also didn't, you know, I think of like, what would I want to read if I was reading a book? Something like that. That's a huge, like that changes everything in the book. Once you read that part,
Mm-hmm.
it's not going to be 10 pages. It's not going to be a chapter. You know, I probably could have made it longer and it would have been fine, but I was comfortable with, you know, at least a good like 50 pages I felt was enough time to devote for, you know, after so much build up. And I tried to, you know, make it realistic, not drag too much, but not cut it too short.
Right.
And then the other instance of freezing time, that was actually your idea. Well, no, actually, well,
No, it was your idea. I
Okay,
just
I
helped
remember
you.
now.
I
Yep,
helped
yep.
you fine tune it, but it was your
Okay,
idea,
that's right.
100%.
Okay, well, that was to explain. That was just a way to keep the cat in the story. Let's be real. You can't kill the poor kitty.
Okay, I was wondering if you were actually going to cop to that.
I own it. Okay, like when I did my first interview and I told you it's a love story between a boy and his cat. That is, yes,
Yeah.
it's a love story, like romantic love, but also this whole book is just all about my cat. I love her so much.
Yeah,
She's here somewhere and I'm waiting for her to pop up, but
yeah.
it's I don't know. It's like she's my child.
Yeah, I was, I'm a huge animal lover, and so I was concerned about how the story was going to evolve if
Yeah.
the cat who ends up being Graham's familiar,
Right. Yeah.
how she was gonna end up in the story, and I was curious as I was going through it on the first edit pass how you were going to not kill off the animal, because
Right.
I don't like
Well, yeah,
stories that kill off the animal.
No, I don't even like it like in video games when you have to kill an animal and I get emotionally upset.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
kill human beings all day long and not care, but not the innocent bunny rabbit, not the deer.
It's
Kill
right.
the guy with the gun.
Yeah, so those of you who know me, can you imagine when my son was 7 or 8 years old and he wanted to play Nintendo version of Duck Hunt?
Oh,
It's got a dog, hunting ducks with a gun. And he's like, Mom, come in, look, I got like 15 ducks in a row. And I was like, yeah, that does not impress me. Go back to
It's
like,
not
go back to shooting the bad guys. You know?
right. For real.
Yeah, so I thought that was cool. So
Thanks.
I'm interested in, and I know I want to dangle some little pieces for the next 2 books. So
Okay.
I'm interested in, are there going to be animals other than cats in the upcoming books? And if not, can you think of ways to include them?
I definitely intend to. 'Cause we are restructuring book 2 so much now.
Mhm.
So I think probably I'm going to have to completely scrap at least like the last third of it maybe and do a whole other. I want to get rid of that whole plot line. I don't like that with where we are now. So I might there in the initial timeline, we'll call it my timeline. Book 3 introduces, there's like a council of witches called the Consortium of Magic. And that's where I wrote some really great characters that I love. I love writing them. And it's they have a secret headquarters in the Bermuda Triangle, and they're just witches from all over the world. There's witches from India, there's witches from England, there's tribal witches, just everything that you can imagine. So if I introduce them in book 2 now earlier, they can have familiars, and it can be kind of more like a Harry Potter. Some people have a rat, some people have an owl, you can have a snake.
No,
you
you
can't
can't have a
say-
snake. No, you can't have a snake.
Well, I don't like
Gabriel-
snakes. I'm terrified of snakes, but
Gabriel,
the evil witches can have them.
Gabriel, you can write about Miss Mabel.
I can write about Miss Mabel. You can have Miss Mabel.
Who is Miss Mabel?
Miss
The
Mabel
rest
is
of
her
us?
pet rat.
Oh, see, rats work. They have appendages. I'm okay with that.
Yep. We saw Mabel's distant relatives when we were in New York,
Yeah, 3 of them.
scurrying after the pizza on the street.
You have to remember, Gabriel, I'm editing for you, so no, I'm sorry, you cannot have snakes in your books.
That's fine. I don't like them.
Okay.
What is
good.
this, like Scrooged? She's
Hey.
picked,
Anything
dangle
but
some
snake.
string, have other animals, and don't have a snake. No, she doesn't get that. Set.
Right? Be more inclusive, but forget the snakes.
We all have our limits in life, Gabe.
If I saw one, I'd be out the door. So I'm right there with you.
Good. I'm glad that we
Terrify me.
I'm glad that we can have a meeting of the minds on that.
Oh
I
yeah,
have
for
a
sure.
story for you.
Oh,
Oh,
oy vey.
Yeah, Andrew, I've only been able to read that once. I haven't been able to read. Andrew wrote a very interesting snake story.
Oh, send it to me.
Mm. Okay, so we are getting close to the end of our time tonight. So I was wondering, does anybody else have any other questions, comments, intrigues for Gabriel tonight?
Go ahead, Jocelyn first.
I was just going to say my comment for Gabriel is he's such a beautiful writer, and I'm blessed he's a part of my life.
Oh, thank you, Jocelyn. I'm blessed too. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
I can't wait to go back to New York with you.
December, baby.
December, baby. Watch out, Big Apple. Cosmos, we're coming.
Yeah.
That's dangerous.
Yeah,
They're so
it was.
dangerous. Anybody else have anything else for Gabriel before we wrap
Yep.
things up tonight?
Since,
sir,
since you
Andrew.
dangled the string
Yes.
out there, you're going to throw 4 into the mix and then potentially go alternate. Are you thinking dark side, light side, Marvel side, DC side, Piers Anthony side? I mean, what are you thinking for alternity here?
I'm going to try to answer this without spoiling anything because the answer in itself is kind of a spoiler, I guess.
It's also a good reason for people to read. So go ahead.
Yeah. I intend I'm calling it AU, but it's basically like an alternate timeline. But Graham will not be in that timeline. So someone else will be the super special witch. I like writing her character a lot more, and I think she deserves to be the star. She deserves the spotlight.
Oh,
So I would like for her to kind of take over the helm and have her own storyline. And I mean, I guess that kind of brings it back to it, it's usually a woman in that genre. But I just love her character so much. And she, she's a woman of color, and I just think she deserves to be at the front of the train. I love writing her character. I love
that's a really great teaser.
Yes.
I like it.
But she's not until book 2, so don't get too excited.
Yeah, we have to finish the edit on that.
I'm probably going to rename her too, so we'll see what happens there.
Fred? Oh, no.
Sorry?
Fred.
Fred.
Fred is such a good name.
She's English.
Oh, well then.
So Frederica?
Frederica? Her name.
Broderick.
Her name right now is Anaya, but I think I might change it to Aeneas. Because I realized as I keep writing all these like women witches, they all have like an at the end of their name. Like there's Ginevra, there's Anaya, there's Esmina, there's Elvina. It's repetitive, and I want to try to pick different names that are still unique but don't all have the ending.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah, so we will see what happens, what I can come up with.
I mean, it's all based on Latin roots. Is feminine, and us is masculine, and is neutered. So
might have to make some neutered characters.
That'd be interesting.
And most importantly, it's important to keep your editor on their toes so that they always watch for continuity and name spelling.
Yes.
So why not change their names? Go ahead.
Why? I mean, I don't want to be, high maintenance, but
it's all right. So it's just a matter of changing. It's a matter of changing the preferential dictionary. It's fine.
All right. I mean, how often do you get a chance to go back and fix something and do it again? You know what I mean? Like,
usually in my line of business, quite a lot.
Well, I mean, okay. Well, if you publish, like, Stephen King's not going to republish, The Stand and rename all the characters.
He could.
Maybe he will. Who knows? I mean, not that I'm comparing myself to Stephen King, but I mean,
you never know.
I always feel like you get one shot, and I'm very blessed and fortunate that I get a chance to go back and kind of make everything better, because I did everything on my own the first time. And
it's one of the wonders of independent publishing is you get to have that control.
And nobody tells me what to do.
Right.
At the end of the day, I have final say.
So, wrapping up tonight, because Chelsea was all sorts of conscientious and on top of everything, and Chelsea decided that she's just going to throw her hat into every ring we threw at her. We had 2 little games, 2 little contests. The first one was the cast a film adaptation of the book simply based on the characters. We put the character descriptions on the website and asked everyone to submit their cast. And because Chelsea was the only one who did it, Chelsea wins! Isn't that great how that works? And
so talented.
Now, the great thing about this, Chelsea being an independent author herself, she's working toward this immortal in writing thing. And I know this because the winner of this little game gets to design a character in book 2, which is entitled The Impossible Year. So Chelsea and Gabriel get to sit down and create a character together. That'll be terrific fun.
Oh, yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
Chelsea being a horror writer, who knows what the 2 of them are going to come up with.
That's okay. I write horror too, so.
Could be anything.
Might be very dark.
And then also, Chelsea won our second game, which was to write a witch's spell to be included in book 2. And just for giggles, because we have a couple of minutes left, I'm going to read Chelsea's spell for you. I'm pulling it up here. Let me find it. Here it is. You ready, Chelsea? Do you want to read it, Chelsea? Do you have it in front of you? No. Okay. I'll read it for you then. Or Gabriel, do you have it in front of you? Do you want to read it? Or
I might be able to pull it up on my laptop real quick if you give me a moment.
because I stuffed it in your Facebook Messenger, so it's right there
Yep.
looking for you.
And Messenger is open from when we were trying to get me into this conversation.
So why don't you go
So-
ahead and read it since it's your book?
I mean, if Chelsea doesn't want the honor, I will. I will gladly take that baton.
Awesome. Go for it.
Find it here. Where is
It'll
it?
sound better coming from you.
Oh no, you're a better writer than I am. That is not it.
I definitely drafted it while I was supposed to be paying attention at a PD meeting.
I love that. I love a little bit of mischief. Oh, okay, I found it. And we have a guest to sit with me. This is not the cat in the book, but she's another one of my babies. Okay. The flame of a candle's light to burn away my plight. As the wax begins to drip, the winds of change begin to flip. The dwindling wick proves its might to patch the damage of this night. Blow out this candle with thy lip, so that fate's scale may tip. That is so
Well
good.
done.
That is better than any spell I wrote for that book, Chelsea. Seriously.
So that spell, Lucky Chelsea, is going to be included in book 2, The Impossible Year. So Chelsea's she might have to have co-writing credit on this book, Gabriel.
I am okay with that.
Awesome. All right. Before we go for the night, thank you everybody for coming. Thank you for supporting Gabriel on his independent author journey. I know he appreciates it as much as I do.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Last, anything from anyone for Gabriel before we leave?
Thanks for the
Shelby,
invite.
You're amazing,
Sorry.
Gabe. I love
Oh.
you.
Thank you. I love you too. I love you all.
anybody else? Andrew, you're not wearing the little white jacket. It's okay. You don't have to hug yourself.
It's okay. I can break out of them. It's a monster.
I have no doubt.
Gabe's still the literary Madonna after all these years.
Thank you. Yeah. Gotta be a little bit provocative.
Anybody
going-
else?
No, I'm going to Chelsea's house. Lionel engines behind you?
Oh, yeah, those are trains.
I know. I have a whole set of them. So
Those are all the Christmas ones.
Leave your quads in.
Thank you everybody for coming tonight. Gabriel, this is really cool. I'm so proud of you. I am so really honored that you've chosen me to be your editor. I'm having a great time with your work. I really enjoy it. And
Glad.
I look forward to many, many more books with you in the future.
Me too. I do.
Thank you
I do.
everybody for coming. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Have a great night.
Bye.
Good night. Thank you.